Today it's called, tomorrow it'll be called something else. At the end of the day, as long as the occupation continues, people will resist against it. So if you truly want but we're back to channel 4. This is the story that an hour ago about the last round of bombing that Israel has conducted, killing almost 700 people.
Israel says it targeted the surgery ward at the Nasser hospital in order to kill a senior Hamas official, Ismail Barhoum.
Yes, I covered this already,
He
but I will
wasn't the
continue
only
covering
person
it.
killed, of course. It was, said the Israelis, a precision strike, but this was a busy hospital, busy treating those injured by Israeli strikes the day before and the day before that.
Many staff are scared, and some of them want to leave the place because they are very scared. They are in doubt that Israelis will target another department soon. So a lot of terror. Yeah.
Attacking a hospital is unless it's being used for military purposes, for example, as a firing position. Hamas says Barhoum was being treated in the hospital for injuries sustained in a previous strike. Israel also destroyed several family homes in Gaza City. It's not clear why. And what does why mean if you've lost all your toys and books as well as your home? Many Palestinians believe that Israel's real aim in restarting the war is to force them to leave Gaza, as President Trump has suggested, to make them go to Egypt or Jordan or Sudan or Somalia, somewhere, anywhere.
We don't need food or drink or anything. We just want a safe life. We want security. We want a dignified life, to live like other Arab people.
At the morgue, 9-year-old Nouran al-Safi was weeping for her father in one of the houses. Her grief is maybe collateral damage, an unfortunate byproduct of Israel's zeal to destroy Hamas. Or maybe it's the point, to force the people into such despair and terror that they will go and leave Gaza to Israel's new generation of settlers and to Trump with his fantasy.
When did they start admitting that they would target hospitals? Al-Shifa, when they claimed that there was like a massive terrorist base under Al-Shifa, the biggest hospital in the Gaza Strip, and then no one ever questioned it, or rather, people questioning it were just like considered completely inconsequential. And then they bombed every other hospital in the process and sieged every other hospital in the process. Israel only does counter propaganda. Israel only does counter propaganda when the Western world actually pays attention to one of the many different unique, well, I guess not so unique. Israel only does counter propaganda when the Western world pays attention to one of the. They see no reason to even do propaganda when they blow up like the Turkish hospital, for example, and then there's not enough coverage on it. So just because you haven't heard about a hospital that they blew up doesn't mean that they didn't blow that hospital up. It just means that there wasn't enough attention and interest from the Western world on that issue specifically. So they didn't even see a reason to cover it. That's the thing that many people don't understand about Israel's modus operandi, is that when you're hearing them even make up a reason, that's because there's a lot of attention on it and people are yelling them about it, and they have to maintain this idea that, like, you know, that they didn't mean to do it. Yeah, like the World Central Kitchen situation. Israel 300 aid workers. But the World Central Kitchen Aid workers were Westerners, so a lot of people got mad about that. So then they had to do a counter-narrative operation on it and just basically lie.
This is of a new Mar-a-Lago rising from the ruins. Today, outside Prime Minister Netanyahu's house in Jerusalem, a small group of Israelis was protesting against his decision to restart the war and to sack officials who disagree with him. It's all an attempt to slow down his corruption trial, they say. The man himself did have to appear in a Tel Aviv courtroom, but his testimony ended early because a doctor said he needed his eyes checked. In northern Israel, an attacker rammed people at a bus stop in what Israeli police described as an attack. He was seen shooting wildly before being shot himself. It's the kind of incident that makes Israelis feel unsafe, so many do continue to support the assault on Gaza. In Gaza, they prayed for the dead. Israel has people since restarting the war last week, including children. They show no sign of stopping.
Well, earlier I spoke to Dr. Feroz Sidwer and Dr. Mark Perlmutter, two American surgeons who are volunteering in Gaza hospitals. They were both in Nasser Hospital last night, and I began by asking them what the situation is there.
On the 18th, bombs started dropping again. Israel started bombing Gaza again. That's led to a big influx of traumatically injured people. And then yesterday, the Israelis actually bombed the second floor of the hospital directly. They were apparently trying to kill somebody who does the finances for the political wing of Hamas or something. They also have a 16-year-old patient of mine who I just operated on a few days before and who actually would have gone home today. I was actually on my way down to the second floor ward to change that guy's dressing, so I would have been standing next to him when that bomb exploded. If somebody pulled me into the ICU and just asked for my help, that's the only reason I wasn't standing there.
What effect does it have on people like you who are there working?
Well, I mean, there were 25 plus hospitals in Gaza last year. Now there's 3 functioning hospitals. All the healthcare workers, and why you see so much commotion behind us is there were less than a dozen here yesterday. Israel commanded all the healthcare workers in the north above the corridor to come south, and so they were all evacuated. So there's no foreign healthcare services available in the north now. So. And we anticipate they'll be evacuated from Al-Aqsa, where I just came from soon. But that pales in comparison to the re-implementation of the blockade of medical supplies. Al-Aqsa is almost a functionless hospital, and the remaining small hospital in the north received as many casualties on the 18th bombing as this hospital did.
Well, what were you missing at Aqsa?
We were missing soap. I would wash my hands in tap water before surgery. We would wash the patient in tap water before surgery. And even when we had betadine, the infection rate is insane. But because the conditions are so hard. But we really have a paucity of supplies that would make any surgery safe. We were sewing people together with sutures that expired in 2017.
Yeah, we are too here.
So now that they have bombed the hospital in this latest round, I mean, are you treating people wondering when the next nail is going to hit?
Always. We came here with the intent of doing reconstructive surgery to fix the problems that a year's worth of my country's bombs had done to this population. That turned around quickly last Tuesday with the severe bombing. It was mass casualty events that Feroz can address better than I. Mass casualty events started all over again, just like last year.
Now, before the bombing, before the resumption of widespread on the 18th, we were mostly, like Mark said, we were trying to make up for the past 15 months of injuries that needed some reconstructive work, and also just catching up on medical problems. I have colon cancer, I have gallbladder disease, whatever, but it obviously wasn't able to get taken care of for so long because of the displacement and the war and the starvation, the whole thing. Now they're back. We're back in mass casualty mode again. I looked at the numbers the other day just because I was a resident during a surgical resident during the Boston Marathon bombing. The Nasser Medical Complex, just this one hospital that we're at that has about 450 beds, has about 6 surgeons, and has 3 internationals volunteering here right now. We saw the same number of patients as the entire city of Boston saw on the day of the marathon bombing. We performed about 20, I think it was 20 or 25 operations, and furthermore, half of them were in kids. That was not the case in Boston. It's way harder to operate on children than it is on adults.
So the claim that the hospital is being used by Hamas, I mean, You're there. Are they there? Are they using the hospital as a base?
No, I have gone literally everywhere at any time that I like. Every door is open and locked. I've been in every building. This is a 3.
It's so insane. For the record, that journalist is not an asshole for asking that question. He has to ask that question. He knows the answer to that question. Stop, chatters. The reason why he's asking that question is so that they answer that question.
Building complex. I've been in every building, on literally in every room and every floor. First of all, again, you can see here, it's impossible to be by yourself in a room in the Gaza Strip anywhere, let alone in this hospital. There's no way to keep secrets here. There's no way to do. There's no way to hide anything like that. That's the hospital is not a military venue in any sort.
Israel has stopped all humanitarian aid and medical supplies coming in to Gaza now. So what are you running out of, or what are you going to run out of, and what's going to be the impact of that?
Everything. We have to. I fixed an elbow fracture on a kid tonight, and instead of using pins or plates and screws, I used drill bits as pins. The device that we use to make the holes in bone so we can put a screw, all I had were drill bits, and we left drill bits in him. We literally don't have enough standard run-of-the-mill orthopedic equipment that I would have used in 1960.
Where's the guy? Did they get banned? Oh, you banned the guy who was like, Hamas uses civilians as a shield guy? I wanted to see what the classic attitude was. They hear American doctors being like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life, dude. And this guy goes, Hamas hides under hospitals, schools, and mosques. Israel's imperfect, but Hamas killed innocent civilians. Children and babies cut from their bodies, burned in ovens. Quit simping for terrorism. I agree this war should end because innocent Gazan citizens are dying for the actions of Hamas. The killing needs to stop on both sides. There's only one side that's doing the killing. For the past 16 months, the fuck are you talking about, dumbass? God damn, what a fucking terrible piece of shit this guy is. Both sides. I don't like Israel either. Both sides, though. There are no both sides in a genocide, dude. What are you talking about? Motherfucker says, oh, I'm not pro-Israel. I think Israel is done wrong as well. But also, I'm going to use one of the classic ways in which Israel justifies bombing fucking mosques and schools and hospitals over and over again. Immediately after the two doctors that are American, by the way, are actively telling you there's no fucking Hamas. There's no like military operation happening in a goddamn hospital.
To repair.
And added some fucking idiotic like hoaxes too. There were no babies being placed in ovens on October 7th, dumbass. Shut up.
Repair fractures adequately. We still have some sterilization equipment. They couldn't give my child antibiotics today for his surgery.
Really?
Right.
Oh.
Can you estimate how long the hospital can keep functioning?
I'd be guessing if I
Right.
did, but I can tell you it's if it was more than a week that we could survive without or not survive, if it's more than a week that we could function to any standard, I would be shocked, honestly.
Thank you both very much indeed. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Joining us now, U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, has also been taking part in those talks between Ukraine and Russia on behalf of the White House.
I can't wait for Israel to get rid of Hamas. Yeah, it's not a real thing. You can keep fantasizing about it over and over again. Maybe it makes you feel better about the genocide that you're supporting, where you're like, oh no, there's a reason for all of these dead children. There's a reason for all of it. It's because Israel is getting rid of Hamas. That's not how it works. Today it's called Hamas. Tomorrow it'll be called something else. At the end of the day, as long as the occupation continues, people will resist against it. So if you truly want, I'm not joking. No, I know you're not joking. You're a morally repugnant dipshit who is trying to internalize the genocide support that you have right now by trying to masquerade it as some good reason. Like, oh, we're getting rid of Hamas. That's why we're doing unrestricted baby murder. No, you're just a fucking monster, but not a particularly intelligent one. And that's why you can't analyze the situation. You don't even hear your own fucking generals on the side that you're supporting going, there is no military solution to Hamas. This has to be a political solution because, lo and behold, guess what? It's not Hamas. Hamas is but a name, okay? You can't kill an entire people's need for emancipation. That's the most human position that they have. So if they killed every leader in Hamas, tomorrow there would be another fucking group that props up that says, hey, I don't like that you're killing my family. I don't like that you're dominating my life. Hamas itself was not around in 1948. It was nowhere near as popular of a movement until even 2005. In 2005, it barely won over Fatah. Anyway, it's okay. You're a dumb piece of shit and a fucking neo-Nazi. And I don't think that I'll be able to ever convince you on this matter. But it's all right, dude. Don't worry. If you're truly wondering how to end any sort of resistance against Israel, well, then the solution is fairly simple. Stop Israel oppressing people. Of course, that'll never happen because they have security concerns. People wondering why Israel is a fucking pariah internationally. I wonder why.
4-year-old Janine drifts in and out of consciousness. An Israeli airstrike hit her home last week while she was sleeping, killing her mother and 25 other family members. Bleeding from her brain, she desperately needs surgery. But her doctor says she won't survive that surgery in this Gaza hospital. They don't have the specialized equipment that's needed. For over 3 weeks, Israel hasn't allowed anything into Gaza. No food, no fuel, and no medical supplies. A blockade that is pushing hospitals here to the brink once again, endangering their ability to treat patients like Janine.
So this is the drugs that we have in the department.
Dr. Mohammed Mustafa, an Australian doctor volunteering at Al Ahli Hospital, says they are quickly running out of basic pain medications and anesthetics. And this is now the main hospital in northern Gaza. He says diagnostic equipment is also in short supply. The ER has no ventilators, one working ECG machine, and only one heart monitor can measure blood pressure.
When we have these drone attacks and these missile strikes, we could have up to about 100 patients in here and only one area that can do blood pressure.
And hits. You can feel this already strained.
Honest question, I thought all the hospitals are bombed and destroyed in Gaza. Does this look like a normal hospital to you? Like when you look at this, because there are parts of the hospital that's a standing structure, you're like, oh no, this must be like a lie that people are saying that all hospitals were bombed. Do you know how large hospitals look like normally? This is the hollowed out shell of one of the remaining places that you can consider a hospital. I don't know if you noticed, but like the fucking blurred out children are not even on beds half the time. They're on the ground. They're being operated on the ground. Why do you think that is the case? Perhaps it's because it's not a fucking real hospital at this point. Perhaps it's because they've destroyed every hospital, including this one.
100 patients in here and only one area that can do blood pressure.
And so when crisis hits, you can feel this already strained hospital buckling under the weight of it all. On the night Israel breaks the ceasefire with a massive aerial attack, every inch of this hospital is packed with casualties. In one corner, a relative pumps oxygen to keep his loved one alive. In another, a child screams out in pain.
It didn't stop for about 4 or 5 hours. We were getting bodies continually coming in.
Dr. Mustafa is 2 weeks into his second volunteer tour in Gaza, where the lack of resources is forcing him to make impossible choices.
I remember I was putting in a chest drain into a man who had quite a collapsed lung, and I felt someone grab my ankle. And it was because there were so many bodies. There was a woman underneath the bed that had half a leg missing, who was holding onto my ankle, and she was asking me to help her. And
what's your take on the death toll undercount inconsistencies? Wonder if you can break some of that down. I don't know what you mean by that. Bless these volunteers. Shame on those who deny their just cause by denying the genocide of the Palestinians they care for. There are numerous numbers of the estimation of the death toll. The Lancet medical journal has published 2 separate numbers at different times. Their estimation is the total number of dead. There's a reason why when Donald Trump says, oh, there's like, 1.7 million people in Gaza now. Okay. The official number of the Gazan population before October 7 was 2.2 million. There's a major disparity. When the Palestinian Health Ministry talks about the 50,000, they're talking exclusively of confirmed casualties that Israel has directly killed with bullets or bombings. There are many issues with an accurate assessment getting an accurate assessment on casualty numbers when Israel has deliberately destroyed the hospital system in Gaza. This is part of the reason, because war, especially in our century, is not only conducted on the battlefield, it's also conducted through information warfare. So in an effort to silence the people that are giving you real-time estimates of the cruelty that Israel is subjecting people to, they will just go and kill them. But there's also a tremendous number of deaths due to starvation, due to other health complications that happen when you shut down the entirety of the hospital system, like people that die from cancer, people that die because they don't have access to medication. When you factor in all of those people, the number is far larger, far larger. Wait, what? What just happened? Hold on. Ay, ay, ay.